dollars before I get into why it took me so long and to make a video, why this and that. I told y'all going into this game that the Fever was going to win. I was one of the people that did not expect them to lose this one. Go back and look. I told y'all they was going to win. I didn't think they was going to be down by 20 and come back and win. Kelsey Mitchell immediately erupted. But, guys, it took me a while to make this video because I'm trying to get my thoughts together and gather my emotions because my second favorite player on the team is done, and that is Sophie Cunningham.
The WNBA drama just went full reality TV mode. New footage drops and suddenly Stephanie White is out here crying harder than a kid who just dropped their ice cream cone. All because Sophie Cunningham and a lawsuit decided to tag team her peace of mind. Yeah, you heard that right. Tears, chaos, and lawyers all in one package. Buckle up because if you thought basketball was just about buckets, this update proves it's also about breakdowns.
Oh my goodness, it took a Hercules-like effort from Kelsey Mitchell in the second half of the game to bail out Stephanie White. My God, it took overtime for the Indiana Fever to beat the worst team in the league, they're now 6-27. We're whipping the Indiana Fever's asses for 3 quarters.
It was never just about the game. This mess spiraled into some kind of back alley brawl disguised as professional basketball. Sophie Cunningham wasn't simply playing defense or driving to the rim. She was suddenly transformed into the unlucky target of what looked more like a WWE finishing move than anything you'd see in a league supposedly built for sportsmanship. Forget pick and roll, this was more like trip and collapse. 1 second she's battling, the next she's got a full-grown adult sprawling across her leg like it's a hotel mattress.
Dirty, dirty Bria, of course, it had to be ya. Dirty, dirty Bria, I would really hate to see ya in a dark alley. Dirty Bria Hartley back at it again with her shenanigans, and this time around, she had her eyes set on one Sophie, the trophy Cunningham. Sophie, get well soon. Hopefully the MRI later today shows nothing too serious. Would love to see you back on the court.
And the wild part? We're all supposed to act like this is just part of the game. No, absolutely not. That wasn't a rebound attempt. That was a flying tackle out of nowhere. These so-called professionals looked less like athletes and more like extras in a bar fight scene that got cut from a low-budget action film. And if this is what passes for basketball, then the WNBA might as well hang it up now and rebrand itself as a traveling stunt show, because nothing about that chaos resembled competition.
And I want to talk about what Coach Stephanie White had to say after the game. During an interview, she said these players have something inside of them that you just can't teach. They bring it out in each other, and it allows us to get through these incredibly tough times. It gives us a chance. I'm so incredibly proud of them for continuing to believe. And that is something where I feel like the media or other players have said that the Fever have locker room issues, and we even heard that last season. It seems like this core group, since DeWanna Bonner has departed and she is no longer with the team, it seems like this group really has come together, and whether they are winning or losing, they do have a sense of togetherness.
Sophie was targeted, plain and simple. This wasn't accidental. The oops, I lost my balance routine doesn't fool anyone anymore. Every viewer with 2 eyes and a replay button saw exactly what happened. A reckless lunge designed to leave her crumpled on the hardwood. If intent could scream, that entire collision was shouting at the top of its lungs. What's worse is the shameless attempt to brush it off like just another tough play. Tough play, please. That was an assault with sneakers.
Sophie Cunningham, oh man, I gotta tell you, this victory, it came with a big price. Bree Hartley, let me just start there because we've got Sophie Cunningham's sister and mother weighing in on the league, and Bria Hartley right here. This is Hartley right here coming in.
Over right there, and Hartley just kind of falls
and she crushes in on the knee of Sophie right here.
She went down hard.
And that was it.
That's like she tried
Sophie
to
was upset,
right and Hartley just kind of falls
and right there once again into the knee. They had to pull out towels to sort of cover the situation up. Bria Hartley getting absolutely destroyed by everybody.
Imagine training your whole life to be in peak condition just to end up used as a crash pad for a frustrated opponent who thinks the best defense is sacrificing their body onto your knee. Sophie didn't sign up for rugby. She didn't audition for the role of human floor mat. Yet here she is, nursing an injury while the instigator walks around pretending it's just business as usual. If that's not madness, I don't know what is. And let's talk consequences, because in any sane league, you throw yourself on someone's leg and potentially jeopardize their career. And you don't just walk away with a pat on the back. Hartley should be cutting checks for every single one of Sophie's medical bills, plus interest. There's also the question of accountability within the league. Suspension isn't optional, it's mandatory, and not some weak slap on the wrist suspension where you sit out a game and come back with fresh braids. No, it needs to be a true, you're gone as long as Sophie is gone punishment. Eye for an eye, leg for a leg. If Sophie's watching games from the couch, then Hartley should be right there next to her, remote in hand, instead of suiting up and pretending like nothing happened. That's the only way the punishment fits the crime.
Indiana Fever with a hell of a comeback versus the Connecticut Sun. We're going to get to the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the ugly. Prayers up for Sophie Cunningham. One half of the Blonde Bombers. Sophie, the trophy, is done for the season with a horrific lower leg injury. I don't know if it's her knee. I don't know if it's an Achilles. It looked bad. She's going to be done for the year. I don't know how much longer the Indiana Fever can continue to survive with these injuries. I just have to be honest. I got to be real. We lost Sydney Colston to a torn ACL. Ari McDonald, broken bone in her foot. Caitlin Clark has played like 12 games all year or something like that. Dewana Bonner scammed us. I mean, it's been a complete shit show, to say the least. It's been a shit show.
The WNBA has a choice here, and it's not complicated. Either protect its players or admit that it's officially become a league where reckless tackles are part of the highlights package. But let's be honest, when the product on the floor starts looking like organized mayhem instead of basketball, the calls to disband the whole thing don't sound so extreme anymore. Because why keep up the charade? If games are going to be more injury reports than box scores, then what's the point of even keeping the lights on? Fans show up for basketball, not to watch Sophie Cunningham get flattened like she's part of a demolition derby. And you know the funniest part of all of this? The way Hartley landed on Sophie's leg, you'd think she was aiming for bonus points in gymnastics. If there had been a judge on the sideline, she might have scored a 9.5 for form, but the penalty for blatant assault would have dropped it to 0. Sophie, on the other hand, doesn't just carry the pain of the injury. She carries the burden of proving that her suffering wasn't just a normal part of the game.
Where Sophie Cunningham went out in the first half. And that was such a huge blow for the Indiana Fever because Sophie Cunningham has been somebody, she has been the glue of this team since Caitlin has been out. She is playing so incredibly well during the second half of this season. She plays hard every single night. She's super tough. She doesn't make excuses. Like, she is somebody who has really held this team together, and seeing her go down in the first half, like, I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what it was at first when I saw her went down.
And that's the insult piled on top of injury here. It's not enough to limp off the floor. She has to listen to a parade of excuses about how these things happen. These things don't just happen. Intentional recklessness happened. And until the league grows a backbone and admits it, the cycle continues. Meanwhile, fans are left shaking their heads, wondering how something so blatantly dirty can be overlooked. If this same nonsense went down in the NBA, you'd see suspension headlines plastered everywhere by morning. But in the WNBA, crickets. Maybe a weak statement, maybe a fine that barely covers dinner at a mid-tier steakhouse. It's laughable. No wonder people are fed up. If the league wants to keep a shred of credibility, this is the hill to stand on. But instead, it looks like they're content letting it all slide. The irony here is staggering. Sophie should be the headline for her gameplay, for her shooting, for her hustle. Instead, she's the headline because someone decided to use her as a crash landing. And all the while, the guilty party escapes with barely a bruise to her reputation. It's almost comical how backwards this has become. The victim's spotlight is pain, the instigator's spotlight is excuses, and the league's spotlight is dimmer than ever.
Save this team today. And I told y'all, go back to the video I posted last night. I told y'all Bria Hartley is a dirty player. She's no different than Dejanay Carrington. It just doesn't get as much publicity because the Connecticut Sun stink. Point blank, period. She's reckless. She injured Sophie Cunningham, and it is a travesty. Stephanie White, you better go and you need to be buying Kelsey Mitchell food all week. You need to send her a personal masseuse because she saved your job tonight. Yeah.
The longer this drags out, the louder the calls become to scrap the whole operation. Because really, why keep pretending this is a professional league if the professionalism is nowhere to be found? At this point, calling for the WNBA to disband isn't just a hot take. It's starting to sound like the most rational solution on the table. If the league can't even enforce basic safety, then the entire foundation collapses. What you're left with is chaos disguised as sport. And that chaos isn't entertaining. It's exhausting. Fans don't tune in for carnage. They want buzzer beaters, not body slams. They want highlight reels, not medical charts. If Hartley can throw herself on someone's leg and face nothing more than a light scolding, then what's stopping the next player from upping the ante? What's next? A steel chair hidden under the scorer's table. At this rate, nothing would be surprising. This isn't a league right now, it's a liability. And until that changes, don't be shocked when voices get louder about shutting the whole operation down. Because the second the spectacle becomes more about lawsuits and medical bills than actual basketball, the WNBA stops being a sport and turns into a circus.
Is driving in. Sophie Cunningham, or Kelsey Mitchell comes down. Sophie Cunningham overhelps, and Bria Hartley just kind of plows through her leg by the looks of things. So I need to see where she plows through. She kind of plows through the knee, and Sophie's holding like her patella. She's holding her patella. It does look like it's a patella. It's a patella injury. Normally people will hold higher in their knee if it's a knee ligament injury.
And unfortunately for Sophie, she was the main act in a circus she never signed up for. And as if Sophie getting bulldozed wasn't outrageous enough, the referees just stood there like confused mall cops watching a fight break out in the food court, whistles in hand, stripes on their backs, yet somehow completely useless. They didn't blow the whistle, didn't issue a tech, didn't even flinch. You'd think they were extras hired to just stand around for ambiance because when it came time to actually enforce rules, they went missing in action like the Wi-Fi at a cheap motel. The refs didn't do a damn thing. If this is what officiating looks like, then they may as well replace these clowns with cardboard cutouts holding whistles. At least cardboard wouldn't insult us by pretending to watch. The commissioner owns this disaster. When the people in charge set the tone that accountability is optional, you get refs who treat blatant assaults like background noise. When the commissioner shrugs, the refs shrug. And when the refs shrug, Sophie gets carried off like a casualty in a sport that's supposed to be about athleticism, not survival.
So we were talking about a couple things when it came to Stephanie White, right? And one of the things were, does she really care about winning? Now, she looks very effusive, right, on the sideline, giving a lot of energy, looking like she cares, getting pissed off. It was times where Caitlin Clark even had to hold her back from yelling at the refs, right? So I would think she wants to win. I don't think she's trying to throw anything. Now, I can admit, when it comes to the end of the game, her rotations, her deciding who to play and who not to play, it does make her look a little bit enigmatic.
You can put all of this on the commissioner's shoulders. The entire debacle is a trickle-down embarrassment. If leadership actually cared about protecting players, this wouldn't have happened. Because refs would know without a shadow of a doubt that ignoring a reckless takedown is career suicide. Instead, the message is clear. Do nothing, say nothing, and collect the paycheck. In any other league, one player collapsing on another's leg would bring instant whistles, stoppage of play, ejections, and a press conference about player safety. In the WNBA has been begging for fans to take them seriously. But how can anyone take a league seriously when the refs treat dangerous collisions like they're watching paint dry? Fans don't pay to see officials turn their backs on chaos. They don't tune in to watch a commissioner spin excuses about unfortunate accidents.
Stephanie White's best friend, Carolyn Peck, been? And where has the Indiana Fever are a more dangerous team without Caitlin Clark conversation gone? How come once the Indiana Fever suddenly stop that 5-game win streak, lose 3 of their last 4, how come Carolyn Peck has suddenly stopped showing up on TV? How come that narrative of the Indiana Fever are more dangerous without Caitlin Clark, why has that suddenly stopped?
They tune in for basketball, and what they got instead was Sophie Cunningham being used as a landing strip with zero consequences. That's not basketball, that's negligence on national television. The commissioner could have made this right with one strong statement, one bold punishment, one sign that the league values its players' health. But no, instead we get silence and platitudes. And once that message is out, good luck convincing fans otherwise. If that's natural, then maybe I've misunderstood the entire concept of sport. Natural is defense and offense battling it out. Natural is sweat and hustle. Natural is players hitting shots, not hitting each other's joints. What happened wasn't natural, it was negligence wearing a referee's jersey and a commissioner's silence as its shield. And here's where it really gets ridiculous. If Sophie's injury sidelines her long-term, the ripple effect doesn't just hurt her, it hurts the entire team, the fans, the competition.
To see her go down, to see, like, it's just emotional, guys. Just, I'm hella mad. Hartley need to be suspended on a major level completely. Probably she's, at this point, she's more dirtier than Dejanay Carrington. Just the countless of dirty plays she has been doing over the last couple weeks has just been remarkable, and it's shocking that she's not suspended. Sophie Cunningham was getting attacked from the opening part of this game. Let me pull up something here real quick, guys, but I am hella mad, bro. Sophie did not deserve any of that happened to her today, and it is very, very unfortunate, man.
That's a franchise cornerstone sitting because some referee was too scared to blow a whistle and a commissioner was too lazy to enforce standards. Imagine being that incompetent and still cashing a commissioner's paycheck. If incompetence were a sport, the WNBA's leadership would be undefeated champions. The whole situation feels like a masterclass in failure. Step 1. A player recklessly injures a star. Step 2. Referees pretend they've suddenly lost vision and hearing. Step 3. The commissioner does her best impression of a mannequin, saying nothing while the league crumbles around her. The disease is at the top, rotting everything below it. You can't expect referees to enforce rules when leadership doesn't enforce accountability. The fish rots from the head, and the commissioner's head is practically a landfill at this point. If fans are furious, it's not just about one injury. It's about years of this nonsense piling up with no resolution. Every time something like this happens, trust erodes a little more.
Understand what she's doing. I've been saying it for the past couple games where I'm like, man, I'm just not understanding why you're not playing this player, that player. What's up with the rotation? I find myself doing this a whole lot. So at some point, I have to say, yeah, she just has to get out of her own way when it comes to rotations, who you're playing, who we're getting the ball to, when the hot hands are going. These things are kind of confusing. Now, my biggest example would be Chloe Bibby. Now, I've been talking about Chloe Bibby for a good amount of games now, and the thing is, the Dallas game, yes, they lost, but she shot 100% from the three.
And now, thanks to a complete lack of action, the commissioner has managed to turn Sophie Cunningham's injury into a referendum on whether the WNBA even deserves to exist. That's how badly this was handled. Because at the end of the day, basketball is supposed to be about fairness, about rules, about competition within the lines. But what we just saw was chaos blessed from the top. The refs didn't enforce the rules, the commissioner didn't enforce the refs, and the result is Sophie left broken while the league pretends it's all just part of the sport. That isn't basketball. That's betrayal. Fans aren't stupid. And when that happens, the WNBA won't need to disband. It'll simply collapse under the weight of its own incompetence.